I would like to extend a very warm greeting to the listeners and viewers at home. I am Emperor Tembu II, Votani Majola, the Emperor of Abatembu Nation. By trade and profession, I am a corporate lawyer and a High Court legal practitioner in Johannesburg for more than 34 years as of 2025. The date today is actually the 25th of April 2025 as of I'm recording this 20-minute video. I decided to record this 20-minute video because I want to clarify chapter one of a business program that I founded. This business program is called the DNA of the Business World. It is a 10 days program where the entrepreneurs they sit inside the class for 10 days non-stop. After 10 days, any entrepreneur who has attended the classes is able to run any type of business from the beginning and do it successfully. When I say can run any type of business, I mean from a construction company to a hotel to a Kentucky Fried Chicken and so on and so on and so on to the bank, no exception, believe it or not. The program is practical in its presentation. There is a little bit of theory, but it is practical by large. Essentially, we teach you exactly what happens in a company environment. I have owned and run several companies. I think if I can count backwards from today, I've run and owned about 8 companies. I'm also an entrepreneur. So the content that I share with entrepreneurs in this particular course are actually the practical things that I've tested in practice and I actually found them to be working and working very well. So the modules, there are 10 modules on this the DNA of the Business World program or course. One, conceptualizing the business idea. Two, finance matters. Three, the proper corporate environment so that you can attract clients and run a business in a sustainable manner. Four, the legal matters. What matters should you know? Legal matters should you know as a business owner. Five, marketing, how to market your business so that you are able to sell your products into the market. Six, investing in human resources. How should you invest in your staff so that they are productive and profitable? Seven, corporate social responsibility. How do you mobilize the communities around yourself so that they become co-partners in a sense in your business to assist you to achieve the profits that you want? Eight, communication. Nine, import and export. It's very, very critical. And so on and so on and so on. I think number 10 is project management. Now, this course has been running in South Africa for more than 20 years. And the people who have been there are currently running businesses now that are very successful. So it is not an assumption that says that if you attend the program, you will run a business and do it successfully. Now, many people have said to me before, but we don't know what you are selling to us. So, what happens if I pay for this and then I find that I'm totally dissatisfied from the very first lecture or from the very first module? Now, I then decided to cut out chapter 1 of the program, which is called Conceptualizing a Business Idea. In other words, how do you start a business from scratch and doing it properly so that you get the profits that you so desire. So I am not going to run the whole module, but I'm just going to spend about 20 minutes just to highlight some of the salient points that we actually deal with in class so that you do have a mind picture of what will be happening. And I am absolutely convinced that what you are going to see is something that you are going to like it very much. Now, a lot of people see their neighbors running successful businesses. Maybe you see your neighbor being a wealthy taxi owner, or you see your neighbor running 5 spa franchises, or you see your neighbor running 10 KFC franchises, and so on and so on. And the person does not know how did the neighbor get there. What steps did they use to actually reach that climax where they are in terms of business now? Now, conceptualizing a business idea is actually intended to teach you how to do it properly. Now, whilst this chapter focuses on starting your own business, but the principles that are actually taught in this particular chapter equally apply even if you're actually buying an existing business, like a franchise, or someone is actually selling you a business that is already standing or running. First principle 1, if you conceptualize a business idea, you need to identify your passion. So principle number 1 is passion. What is my passion in business? In other words, what is it that I like? What is it that I would like to become? The reason why you need to identify your passion is because if you just start a business for the sake of starting a business, which is not your passion, within 6 to 7 months, when the challenges attack you, you are going to lose interest in that business and you lose the money that you had already invested. So, but if you are dealing with a situation where it is the kind of a business that you have got passion for, 95% of the chances are that you will be able to sail through the storms because it is something that keeps you going. It is something that wakes you up in the morning because you like it. Passion is something that you like it. So, rule number 1, you must identify your passion first. Rule number 2, after you have identified your passion, suppose your passion is in the hospitality industry. But the hospitality industry is very broad. It can be a hotel, it can be tourism, it can be a B&B, it can be transportation within the hospitality, it can be a restaurant. It is actually very, very broad. Now, what you need to do within that broader passion, if I can use the term broader passion, you need to identify specific category within the broader passion. Suppose the category that you identify is you want to run a bed and breakfast. In South Africa, we call it a B&B. So I'm going to use the example of a B&B throughout this chapter 1. Now, that is rule number 2. You have chosen now the specific category that you want to run a B&B. Rule number 3, after identifying a specific passion, or rather the category within that specific passion, you need to study the trends within the bed and breakfast. In other words, you must educate yourself. How Is the BNB, is it a successful business? Is it flooded the market? Let's say you live in Johannesburg, like myself. If I'm going to start a BNB in Johannesburg, I would study the trends of a bed and breakfast in Johannesburg at large. What are the things that make the BNB work in Johannesburg? What are the things that can make the BNB fail in Johannesburg, for example? All right. That is now rule number 3. Study the trends. Rule number 4, you need now to choose at least 3 sites where you want to start your BNB. Suppose you choose Rosebank, you choose Sandton, and you also choose Fourways. At least you must choose 3 sites. Then after choosing those sites, rule number 5 is that you need to visit those sites. You've got to be there. Don't only read from the internet and say, and you hear people saying, no, BNBs are flourishing in Sandton and so on. You've got to go to the area where you contemplate placing your business, if it's a new business. Having your checklist, the things that make the BNBs work in Johannesburg and the things that make the BNB fail in Johannesburg. So you go to Sandton, for example, for a start, you check around, you tick, you cancel, you tick. From there, you go to Rosebank, you do the same. From there, you go to Fourways, you do the same. And then from there, you come back home, having your notes that you have actually compared. Then you compare your notes to actually choose the most suitable site. Suppose you choose Fourways, all right? Then the next principle now, which is, I think, is principle number 6, is then you say, is there a need for a bed and breakfast in Fourways? Is there a need? Because if there is no need for a bed and breakfast in Fourways, then it means you must start looking at other options, which is Sandton and Rosebank. Is there a need? If the need is not there, it becomes very difficult to create a need as a small business, even a big business for that matter. People who are able to create a need, even when it is not there, are large corporates who have got very deep pockets. But if you are just an SME or even a corporate, an average corporate, you need to start a business where you have identified that there is indeed a need that is existing, because to create a need is exceptionally expensive. So suppose you find that there is a need for a bed and breakfast in Fourways. The next question, or rather the rule now that you ask yourself, which is rule number 7, what is my target market? Or who is my target market? Now, when you run a BNB, you could have more than 7 possible target markets. If your target market is corporates, or that is companies doing events, it could also be school children. Your target market could be tourists. Your target market could be sports persons, and so on and so on. Now, all those target markets that I've actually specified, they have got different needs. They have got different likes and dislikes. So that is why now it is important right at this stage to say, who is my target market? I'm here in Fourways. Who can make my BNB work better than the other target markets, or what we call niche markets? So that when you reach a stage of drafting the actual business plan, you draft your business plan already knowing who the actual target market is for your actual business. You don't just draft a business plan for the sake of drafting it. Who is my target market is actually very, very important. Rule number 8. After we've dealt with that, then rule number 8, we do mental exercises within the class. As an entrepreneur, there is a certain state of mind that you need to have to be a success. Some of them is that you must have a positive mental attitude. You must have a strong mentality. You must have a spirit of not giving up, and so on and so on and so on. Now, if you don't have that mentality as an entrepreneur, I can assure you that you are going to crash even before you rise. So what we then do at this level in class, we actually do practical exercises on day 1, which I'm not able to explain in a form of a video unless you are actually part of that class. By doing those practical exercises, we are effectively planting the seed of strength, or the seed that is going to help you sustain the challenges that are brought about by entrepreneurship. Those exercises are not on the internet. You can't get them there. You'll only get those mental exercises if you happen to attend the course. And those mental exercises are actually going to help you even outside the actual class. Now, once we have done the exercises, we then now move to deal with the questions, because every module has got questions at the end. One popular question that will always be asked is that you must identify at least 10 businesses that you would like to open in your area. If, for example, you live in Durban or Joburg or whatever. So what happens at this level, we actually group the students into a groups of 10, into a number of 10. So if we've got 100 students, which is a maximum, then we group them into 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. We call them companies. Company A, Company B, Company C, Company D, and so on, up to Company J. Then Company A will then identify the businesses that they believe will work. Company B does the same, and so on and so on and so on. After each company has actually identified the businesses that they believe are actually going to work, let's say in Johannesburg, then each group, we start from Group A. Group A actually nominates a spokesperson who is actually going to address all of us, 100 of us. He goes to the table, to the front, and tell us what businesses have they identified and why do they believe that such businesses are likely to thrive in Johannesburg. Now, at that level, when that actually happens, if, for example, the spokesperson is Jolene, Jolene is now busy with communication skills. We are actually teaching now Jolene and the group as to how to present your case for a business so that you are able to relay the message with confidence, you are able to relay the message with clarity, you are able to relay the message with precision. After Jolene has finished her presentation, we then start to correct the errors that she made so that next time that she makes a communication, she knows exactly what to do and how to do it. Then the second group, they do the same. The third group, they do the same. The fourth group, they do the same, and so on and so on and so on and so on. Then now we go to the second question, whatever it is. If Jolene spoke as a spokesperson of Company A, she's not going to repeat speaking now or representing. It goes now to the second person because we want to make sure that each of the 10 group members has had an opportunity to practice communication right there in class. That is why now, going beyond the theory, the course also teaches you communication. The course also teaches you project management. The course also teaches you business leadership. The course also teaches you this and that, but you actually do it practically in class. That is why now, where there are adverts of the course, you'll actually notice that beyond the 10 modules, we have actually listed certain skills that you'll actually gain by being part of the course. One of those skills is communication. One of those skills is project management, and so on and so on and so on and so on. One of those skills is business leadership, because without those critical skills, you are not going to run a business properly. So that is why after 10 days, especially if you participate in class, because everyone is given a chance to participate practically, to do the things practically, you will be as sharp as somebody who has been to a higher institution of learning business for maybe 3 years. As many people who actually attended the course, they actually commented on the 8th day and said, if this program had come before I went to study a certain course, a 3-year course at varsity, I would not have gone there. I would have been happy with this particular program, because all the things that it took me 10 years to study at the university or at a technical, and I'm not exaggerating, all the things that it took me 3 years to study at a technical or at a university, I actually got all of them, and also actually even beyond, within 10 days. I remember in Northern KwaZulu-Natal, when we presented the class, one lady was already running a bakery. She attended the course. Then when I went there for the second time, I think after 2 months, she went there again, but this time not to learn, but to testify. She actually, I thought that when she came there, she went to complain, but she actually went there to testify. I did not know what she was going to say myself, because I never spoken to her after the first 2 months that she attended the course, or the program rather. She said in class, ever since I attended the program, I made profits, my monthly profits grew by 65%, and I'm not exaggerating. My monthly profits grew by 65% in the past 2 months that I attended. Because what actually happened is I took the guide that we used in class, and I actually used it as an ABC guide for each and